Now, live from Athens is George Papaconstantinou. He was the Greece's finance minister when the country requested emergency funding back in April 2010. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Papaconstantinou. Back in July, Mario Draghi said that the ECB would do whatever it takes to save the euro. Can the European Central Bank save the euro, in your view?
I think it's important to remember that the ECB has been very important in the last 2 years to send signals to the market. It has moved quite a lot from its traditional stance. It has covered some of the ground that governments were not ready to cover, and it is buying time for governments to come to decisions which are more long-term. So I think that's what everyone is expecting today. I don't think we're expecting a full-fledged plan from Mr. Draghi and the ECB, but we're expecting enough information to reassure the markets that the ECB will be involved, will be buying government bonds in the secondary market for the countries that are in programs, and will thereby allow governments to take a little bit more time until they finalize the new institution the Eurozone requires.
OK, we're hearing that the European Central Bank, incidentally, has decided to keep the base rate of interest across the 17 economies that use the euro on hold, Mr. Papaconstantinou. We'll see what Mr. Draghi has to say in the press conference. In your view, though, is buying up government bonds going to solve the debt crisis?
No, in and of itself, it is not. It will certainly send a signal that the borrowing costs in certain countries that are in programs or that are following policies that are meant to control the deficits and debts, that those borrowing costs are way too high, because they are too high at the moment. However, in and of itself, it's not going to solve the problem. What will solve the problem, however, requires political decisions which cannot all be taken immediately. It involves a banking union, and already we have some moves towards giving the ECB some more oversight over banks and moving gradually towards a deposit guarantee throughout the union, and eventually it will also involve some mutualization of debt. For that to happen, however, you have to have a closer economic cooperation and control over national budgets, and that's not for tomorrow. That requires more time.
You mentioned mutualisation of debt. I wonder if we should be writing off more debt. Greece owes 350 billion euros. This is money that your country, in all honesty, cannot afford to repay.
Well, this is money that is being repaired as bonds mature. We all know that there has been a debt restructuring in the case of Greece, and according to the current analysis of the international organizations, on certain assumptions, this debt is sustainable. And I say on certain assumptions because, of course, a lot depends on whether Greece manages to grow. If Greece continues to be, you cannot repay the debts. If Greece grows, then yes, you can repay. I have said in a number of times that we will have to look again at the contribution of the official sector as we move forward and see whether in some way or another the official sector can help debt sustainability in Greece.
You mentioned growth, Mr. Papaconstantinou, and unfortunately in Greece there's little sign of any recovery, is there? And the coalition government is about to unveil yet another austerity budget. It has to find 11.5 billion euros of savings. How would you assess the public mood in Greece at the moment? A new coalition government in its infancy, but are the Greeks honestly prepared to accept yet more austerity? Austerity which, of course, has kept them in recession.
Well, this austerity package is unfortunately necessary in order to move, finally, the last step, which is to move to a primary surplus. In other words, to be able to spend less than what you're actually earning from revenues. But it is very clear that the mood is a dark one. People have seen their wages and salaries, their incomes drop dramatically over the last 2 years. This is not always understood or appreciated in the rest of Europe. And this is why it is important that this austerity package does not just come by itself, but it is complemented by the kind of reforms and the kind of help to get growth going. We're in the 5th year of recession. And if we continue simply to cut without any hope for growth, then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and Greece will be in a situation that it will not be able to get out of.
OK, George Papaconstantinou, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for joining us there, live from Athens, the former finance minister of Greece there. That's all from me. Plenty more online, skynews.com.